Welcome to DFS Karma, where we talk about our favorite fantasy sports plays for football, basketball, baseball, and pretty much everything else. Be sure to check out and create an account with all of our partners, such as MonkeyKnifeFight.online, PrizePicks.online, and StatHero.online. Use the promo code KARMA on any of these sites to get an exclusive deposit bonus. And don't forget to check out all of our free fantasy content on DFSKarma.com, as well as our own premium plays. Without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Please welcome today's hosts.
What is up? Karma Nation, we're back once again, week 3, the cash process. I'm your host, AC, with DFS Karma and BetKarma.com, as well as my co-captain, Ben Hostler. We're coming off a monumental week at DFS Karma. Let's just get right to it, right? I mean, first off, what were your thoughts? I mean, you saw a big win. You had to have known it was coming because I was trolling Discord. We'll get into the whole everything cash-wise, but let's just lead off with it because I know everybody wants to hear about the week that was.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know how you do it. And you know what? If you guys missed this, Anthony, again, what is this, your third 100K day in the last, 35 days or 40 days?
I'm laughing because, yes, I'm getting a little bit lucky, but yeah, man, I mean, not changing much. We've talked about the process. I mean, Ben, Sunday morning, me, you, and Sam were on the live stream talking about the exact – actually, Sam yelled at me because I took the mic like I always do too quick, and I talked about my process and what I was going to do and how I was going overweight to Aaron Jones as a pivot, how I was concentrating my 3 max entry builds around that Cowboys game in specific and just game stacking it, and that was the route. Taking down first place, honestly, was a little bit more of the pride for me in the 3 max because I've always wanted to take down first place in the NFL 3 max. I've had, like you said, quite a run in the last 90 days with 3 separate 6-figure wins. Of course, my life has changed. I'm not going to lie. It was awesome. But at the end of the day, like I said, holding on to first place in the 3 max, and there's a lot of things we can kind of talk about. I don't want to just make it about the big win. I wanted to lead off with it so we can just get it out there. But it's the same thing. I mean, this is year, Ben, 5, 6 of you doing the cash process, like doing these game theory podcasts, all the content led by Ben and Bales in specific, our projections portal led by Sam. Everything's at dfskarma.com, guys. I'm not exaggerating. I've condensed my research into the sales funnel process at dfskarma.com. Everything is there. Literally everything I do my research is there. That's how I come to my constructive, lineups throughout the week. I mean, years ago when we weren't, our bandwidth it wasn't as big. Of course, I was dancing around all over the place, but because yes, I own the company. I mean, a lot of the things that I lead and implement are a blueprint of what, I utilize and build. So I'm using everything at the website. So I wanted to get that out there. Because we had some people in Discord asking, hey man, what's your process? How do you do it? I was like, Blake, he's been in there forever. I'm like, I talk about this every single week on the podcast for 5 years and, nothing changes. That's why this is the cash process. But that also leads to what we talked about on Sunday. And then we'll get into this week. I promise, guys. That's why you have to have some exposure to tournaments. If you're building just one lineup and that's all you want to do, hey, that's fine, in a vacuum. But we talked about it on Sunday. It was extreme chalk. You were looking at Henry and a couple other guys that were just utter chalk. We said you had to get some exposure to tournaments, and that's what we talked about and professed. And that's how the weeks that there is mega concentration, you can spike big in tournaments. I said all week I was super excited for tournaments. I just had a feeling that it was going to be a big week in tournaments strictly because everybody was playing the same plays. And you kind of know what happens when that happens. I see this in golf all the time as well. All right, so I did a lot of talking there. Ben, why don't you interject? Anything you want to add, subtract, I don't know, ask a question before we kind of get into the actual cash process for week 3.
Yeah, I mean, the lineup that you won 100 grand with really was, I don't want to say obvious, but it wasn't like you made some super off the wall lineup, right? Like it was plays that we all were on. We had a couple other big wins from people in Discord using Final Thoughts. Just building lineups straight off of that, and had a couple big wins. I think the big thing was Aaron Jones. Like we were all over Aaron Jones, and I told you before this, I made the worst 2v2 decision of my life in cash games, and it was Aaron Jones and CeeDee Lamb. Or no, it was Aaron Jones and Deontay Johnson, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Mike Williams. And I picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Mike Williams. And I did it because I had Aaron Jones. I made 4 tournament teams on DraftKings. I had Aaron Jones in every single one of them. So I didn't want to have 100% of him just in case, like he got hurt or something. I'd be screwed. But we all were all over Aaron Jones, and obviously, he made a big difference for you.
Considering him for cash, that was sharp play that he wasn't in my cash pool just because I don't know if this is how I always think, and somebody asked this question Sunday on the live stream, but like you were explaining right there, the 80%, you had, I guess, 5 total lineups. You had him in 80% of your lineups. I had him in a ton of my tournament rosters, and I was just like, man, I'm just going to, play the good chalk, quote unquote, which we all know how that ends in DFS. And that's what I did. I built a very chalky lineup, and then we'll start diving into the cash process and how we do every week. I'm not going to lie. Like, yes, it was a huge win, but my pride was hurt because I'm not going to lie. I'm 0-2 in DraftKings for cash games this year. I don't think I started at 0-2 in the last few years. I did have a really big win on FanDuel. Was happy about that. I'm 1-1 there. But this is mostly a DraftKings podcast. And I don't know. I didn't think I made any wrong moves other than I had Jordan Reed in my lineup, which, by the way, he was in that $100,000 lineup. But I had him in cash games too. And I think, you and some others in Discord and some of our staff guys, we just kind of came to the consensus, drinking the Kool-Aid, that there was a report out Saturday or Friday, and I don't remember which night, that he was only playing, quote unquote, 10 to 15 snaps, which I knew where there's smoke, there's fire to an extent, but not necessarily with these NFL coaches. So I decided to go overweight to him in tournaments, which obviously ended really well for me. But I was pissed because I had him and CeeDee and Deontay Johnson in, my cash lineup. And then just by default, I went up to Herndon. I didn't have money for Johnson. He was an easy fade for me, even though he scored, by the way. He was the one guy I didn't really want to play to begin with. And then it got me off CeeDee Lamb, who was actually in that winning lineup as well. So you can see I was very overexposed to these guys as is. But yeah, ultimately, somehow my cash lineup just didn't fare well. And I kind of had most of the other pieces, I guess, right to an extent. But anyways, yeah, man, that's a tough split for you. I can't believe I didn't know that you were considering Aaron Jones in cash. That's definitely brutal. No wonder how you were pissed off.
Yeah, that's why I asked you at the end of the live stream. I was like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Aaron Jones, pick one. And you said Aaron Jones. And I was like, yeah, I probably should play him. But I was like, I have so much of him,
Hey, it is what it is. And that's a wrap. We're dumping week 2, throwing it in the trash. We're moving on right now. So if you're new to this, by the way, I'm going to call out Ben right now, even though he didn't break it. But on YouTube, we usually have a pretty background for you newbies out there. I'm assuming there's some newbies since we just hit big, and you know how it is. There's always new people that flock. Like, who are these guys? We don't do anything secret. We just grind, honestly. We work hard, and once in a while we hit. But yes, the background, I don't even know, Ben, what the hell happened.
Yeah, this is so scuffed if you're watching this. I don't know. The stream just deleted everything right before we got on here, and I don't have time to build it at the moment. So I'm rolling with this.
100% blaming Ben. And for you YouTubers, give us a thumbs up, write us a comment. It totally helps. At this time, about a year and a half ago, and this is the last quick story, we got shut down on YouTube for reasons I still don't know today. So it was a methodical grind just to get us back up to, I think we're at 1,500 subscribers. So thank you to all, honestly. It's crazy that, we got back that quick. And it's not quick. It's hard to grow back to where we were. We were 4,000 or 5,000 about 12 to 18 months ago. And then shit hit the fan, and all these YouTubes and the DFS bubble kind of got shut down. So that helps us. Please subscribe. Give us a like, thumbs up, whatever. You don't like us, give us a thumbs down, and then same with iTunes and everything else. All right, Ben, let's jump into it. I'm now going to pivot back to you. You've definitely looked more into the slate. Last week was funny because I didn't have pricing. I have pricing this week, so at least there's that. So we'll start at quarterback. I think first glance, there's going to be a very popular player, and rightfully so, right? At quarterback, if I'm guessing correctly, Kyle Murray's going to be chalk.
Yeah, so Look, I jokingly said before we got in here, I have my cash lineup already. It's Tuesday afternoon. I'm not changing it. Like, I think it's a pretty direct approach this week. Kyler Murray, I think, is a great play, 6,800, but he actually was not. I think that the top three as of Tuesday afternoon for cash games, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, and Cam Newton, they're all like in that same pricing range. So this is a weird slate. We have no Chiefs, no Ravens, no McCaffrey, no Devontae Adams, who everyone was jamming in last week. So I think balanced lineups are going to end up being more popular, and I think you can easily get up to this range at quarterback. So Russ and Dak are in just the nuts game, right? Everybody saw this Cowboys game pop off last week against the Falcons in Seattle. Seattle's been passing a lot more, so I think everyone's going to be on that game this week. And then Cam, I mean, I know Kyler's rushing a lot too, and he has a really good matchup against Detroit, but Cam literally, I think he has 5 carries inside the 5 already. He has a bunch of rushing touchdowns. You know, if they get close, he's going to run it in. And
Yeah.
Vegas is on a short week, right? They played Monday night. They had a big win. Now they got to travel across the country for the 1 p.m. game in New England. Like, I think it sets up really well for Cam at home against a bad defense, in my opinion. So I think Cam at 6,700 is a really strong play as well.
Yeah, that's a good call. I'm wondering if, I don't know, people just are early on kind of overlooking Cam a bit, especially with Wilson and Kyler Murray and a couple others on the slate. I mean, then again, he has been dominant. Yeah, I mean, you hit it all. I mean, that's exactly the directions I'd be looking. And just like the last couple of weeks, and frankly, every year, again, I know there's some newbies in here. This is the cash process. We are talking value for cash games, but I'll always sprinkle in some of my game theory, quick thoughts. And the quick thing I see at quarterback, I can already tell you right now, similar to like last week, a quarterback I'm looking at in one of my 3 max build, 100% will be Matthew Stafford in that same exact game. You know, I'll look for a little bit of depressed ownership. You never know. A couple Drake rushing touchdowns, and Stafford's got to play catch up quick. So that's my quick game theory in quarterback. All right, Ben, let's do the same thing at running back. Who are you looking? You sound pretty confident before pod as to routes you want to go. So I'm really curious what you're looking at running back.
Yeah, so we had a ton of injuries. You know, rest in peace to all the players that lost their seasons over week 2. I mean, just crazy, crazy injuries. McCaffrey obviously is out. They said 4 to 6 weeks. It could be longer, I guess. I don't know. I never really trust that when they say that when it comes to like an ankle or something. So I thought we were gonna have like some obvious chalk at the low tier, and I think like a normal week, some of these cheaper guys that are filling in, I think would be chalk, but there's just no one to spend up on honestly. Like I think going balanced is going to be the way to go. So at the top tier, Zeke and Henry both are in really good spots. So Zeke's in that game that everyone's going to love. I haven't checked Vegas yet. I'm assuming, it's going to be over 50 over under.
Oh, it's 55.5 right now.
Yeah, like of course, because it ended like 53 last week. I think that Falcons won, and the Seahawks have just been passing a ton. So it's a nuts game. Zeke got trolled hard by Dak over the weekend, right? What did he have? 3 rushing touchdowns inside the 5. Yeah. They threw a close one to Dalton Schultz, and that Zeke still found the end zone, right? Like that's not going to happen again this week. Dak's not running 3 in. And he just has such a safe floor, and 8,300 honestly feels too cheap for that game environment. So I really like him. Henry, I don't know if you got to watch any of the games on Sunday, but the Vikings literally could not tackle Jonathan Taylor. And everyone's going to be mad. They got burned by Henry. Henry still had, 27, 28 touches? Like, he just didn't score any touchdowns, which was unlucky. So I think you can go right back to him as well. And then there's 2 more. Jonathan Taylor at 7K is too cheap. Jonathan Taylor got 12 touches on their first drive last week. The Jets are awful, right? I mean, like, Raheem Mostert took 180 to the house, like, right off the bat against them last week. So I think Jonathan Taylor at 7K is too cheap. And he didn't get that involved in the passing game because they didn't need to. I mean, they were just destroying the Vikings. Not that they can't do that to the Jets, but it was really nice to see him lock in 25 plus touches. And then Miles Sanders is the biggest mispriced, I think, at 6,400. Came out, so all offseason, all we heard, Doug Peterson doesn't use one running back, and I was like, that's not true. 20 rushing attempts, 7 targets in that first game for Miles Sanders off injury. Really good matchup. I mean, what did Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt do against the Bengals last week, right? They ran all over him. So I think 6,400 for Miles Sanders at home is a really, really good price as well.
Yeah, those 2 of the guys in specific, that you mentioned towards the end there, Jonathan Taylor and Miles Sanders. I mean, when I first opened up pricing, which is about 90 seconds before we got on this podcast, those are the guys I put in my temporary lineup. And to be in complete agreement with you, it means for every reason you just mentioned. I mean, I really don't envision myself not having a cash lineup without Miles Sanders and Jonathan Taylor this week. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of value, and frankly, I do. I have research to do later this week for sure. I'm definitely behind a little bit, but those are the main guys. Love your call on Derrick Henry, and I think that might be more of a game theory call because who knows? I don't know. Maybe that's a bad thing by me to say already. I just don't envision him being complete chalk because he let everybody down last week. So there you go. In your 3-max entry, if you don't have exposure in a 3-max entry to Derrick Henry, I mean, you're literally lighting money on fire. To your point about Zeke, again, great analysis. And again, I will circle back to the win that I had. I mean, that's just me in 3-max. That's how I'm zigging and zagging. You know, Zeke is chalk. Of course, I had Zeke in cash lineup last week. And yes, everybody loved the game in specific, but you'd be surprised how many people didn't make that type of 2-man stack with bringing it back with Ridley. I mean, I was actually surprised how low owned Dak was in that environment, that dome game. I mean, that was really only the extensive high total of the week last week. So you'd be surprised on the leverage you can get. So where I'm going with it is, you know, envision that same leverage in your 3-max bills this week. You know, we're talking about Miles Sanders right now. We're talking about Jonathan Taylor. Well, right now, I can assure you, I'm already going to be looking into an Eagles stack. Pivoting off Sanders is one of my builds in a 3-max. I mean, I just think it's, you know, Baker took advantage of that secondary as well. I mean, they have some pieces. It's interesting to see if they're going to get a little healthy because they were pretty banged up as well. But again, that's just ways to pivot in a 3-max build. So I did want to sprinkle that in. I'll name a couple other names that kind of came to my attention early. I don't think anyone's going to play Austin Eckler. I don't think you mentioned him. And then Josh Kelly. I mean, this is your guy, Ben. You talked about him in the preseason a lot when I thought there was best balls, and really there was like no best balls going on, at least for me in Ohio. Josh Kelly at 5K. I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I've been turning on the TV during the first couple of weeks, maybe it's just the Chargers have had some airtime or whatever, the 4:30 games. It's like this guy has the ball every time I have the red zone on or the 4:30 game, and he looks bruising. He looks tough against that front seven, Carolina. I mean, I would assume on most weeks, Josh Kelly, or I mentioned Eckler because I love Eckler, but, you know, we're talking about price, discount, cash process. If you want an awesome receiver kind of lineup with your main lineup, I mean, you could go to Josh Kelly. I feel like he's almost Derrick Henry with 5K right now, at least this week in this situation. Not comparing him to Derrick Henry, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think both Eckler and Kelly are good tournament plays. I think it's just tough to trust one of them. Like, it's tough for me to trust Eckler at 65 when Sanders is cheaper and Taylor's only 500 more when Kelly's there. Because we saw, like, the Chargers got up on the Chiefs last week, and Kelly got 23 rushing attempts. We would assume they'll be winning against the Panthers, but I guess we don't know with that quarterback situation. We'll have to see what's going on there. But
this is my question before we go to wide receiver. Of course, your core plays, which will come out for customers and subscribers, you can find that on the site. I'm not trying to get your whole core play out of you today. I never really do. But in the flex right now, who were you looking at running back this week?
Yeah, it'll probably be one of the spend-ups and Taylor and Sanders. Like, Kelly, I think, is a great play. And then you got this situation where it looks like
I'm saying in flex. I already know you're locking them in.
Yeah. Well, so Mostert, it looks like Mostert and Tevin Coleman are both going to miss this game. So that's going to give us Jerick McKinnon. What is he, 4,900, I think? Really cheap. Another example, I think on a normal week, Jerick McKinnon would be massive chalk in cash games, right? At 4,900, probably starting. But there's just like, there's no, like, where are you spending up at, you know? Like, there's no Lamar, there's no Mahomes.
Right.
Like, there's no one to, like, use.
You're talking about jamming in the potential third running back, like a Zeke, like a Derrick Henry. That's like your initial lean potentially right now.
Yeah, because I just, like, there's nowhere else to spend other than that, you know? Like, I'm not going to spend up on, like, there's not even, like, there's no Michael Thomas either. It's crazy.
No, I do kind of agree with you. I've noticed even last year at the end of the DFS season, I noticed at times I kind of bought into the cheap value, which I still think that the math play is right. Like, you always want to take the cheapy running back that, quote unquote, in theory, Ben, should crush, right? Or like,
Right.
or we have rationale and reason to believe that he should hit value. But I feel like more often than not, these cheapy running backs that come along for whatever reason, injury or whatever, they just don't tend to work out. I got punched in the face week 1 because I drank Antonio Gibson Kool-Aid. I don't even know why I played him. I decided to do it. I said, all right, if he gets the 3x, the 3.5x, that's all I need, blah, blah, blah. Well, it doesn't always work out that way. So I like the early direction of kind of spending up as much as possible running backs. I mean, that was actually my initial aim when I looked at pricing as well. So we'll see. A lot of things are going to fall later this week as far as injuries go. All right, let's get to a wide receiver. Who are your early looks at as far as value goes?
Yeah, if you're spending up, Hopkins, great play, 7,900. Really good game, which you kind of alluded to when you were talking about that earlier. Got involved in the red zone last week with a red zone touchdown. So I think like if you're spending up, you can go with him. I think heavy ownership at the wide receiver position is going to get pushed on that Dallas-Seattle game. I mean, look at some of the prices on these guys. Cooper, 6,500. DK Metcalf, 6,500. Lockett, 6,400. CeeDee Lamb's under 6K again. I mean, Gallup's at 55 and CeeDee Lamb's at 54. So I think a lot of people will be focusing on those 5 guys. Once again this week. I mean, CeeDee was chalk last week, but I think all those guys were in play given that game.
CeeDee is so good, by the way.
Yeah, CeeDee at 54. I think he's 59 on FanDuel off the top of my head. I think he's probably my favorite Dallas guy. Like, I tend to play Cooper at home more. So I think CeeDee. So I think like the conversation would be who do you pick between Lockett and Metcalf, right? Like they're both so good.
Yeah, I actually fell asleep in the second half of that game, but I mean, I saw that DK touchdown. That was unbelievable. He's so good. I mean, I just love playing DK. Now, what are their pricing, Ben? I'm pulling them up. Okay, so
DK 65 and Lockett 64.
So, is this in Seattle?
It is at home in Seattle. I feel like Metcalf's probably the better FanDuel play, right? Because you get the touchdowns. Yeah. And I probably like Lockett slightly more on DraftKings, but it's super close.
Call me crazy. I don't have these splits. I'm completely making this up as I go. But I tend to favor, an equal price, which they essentially are. They're the same price. I tend to give the nod to Lockett because he has played better at home his whole career. Again, I don't have those splits, but it's just something that I've kind of always at least gone with, whether it works out or not. But I would probably lean Lockett. There's something about him historically that, he's still the golden child to Russell Wilson at the end of the day. Like, yes, DK is an amazing toy that he has, but yeah, I'd probably lean Lockett, definitely in a vacuum there. Now, again, quick thoughts. I said I'll always do this. I always have. I don't know why some people said I haven't. Sprinkle in some game theory. I do think, quick look, CeeDee Lamb probably, if he is the Dallas guy that's going to be more owned, it's because he's cheaper. So, like, tournaments are so easy. Again, go back to a 3-max entry. If CeeDee Lamb is the cheap guy that's going to be more owned, play Cooper and Gallup together with Dak. Bring it back with DK if you go Lockett. That's how I get my natural hedge exposures. I talk about the same thing in golf literally all the time. So therefore, if I crush in cash, which my pride wants it to be, don't get me wrong, then generally those other teams are not going to do well. However, like last week, I didn't get crushed in cash. I just didn't cash. And my tournament spiked because I zigged and zagged with some of the guys that were in the same game, just not as high owned. So that's the route I will be going in 3-max as far as some of these receiver goes. Now, real quick, Ben, I got to admit, we got to check the injury report with Detroit, which I might as well just
Galladay's back if that's what you're going to ask.
So Galladay's back for sure?
They said he's going to play. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did read that. And, I'm not going to every week do this, but this is definitely my bet of the year, no doubt, like for a variety of reasons. And you know what? I'm going to tease it, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. It's at betkarma.com, literally my bet of the year. It's already been posted, and it is in this game. You just don't know which side it is yet. So you got to go there. The premium subscribers have access to that. I mean, we do, honestly, 90% of our stuff are free. Once in a while, we control you guys with one of the goodies. So I love Hopkins in this game, man. Like, I know there's other guys. I know there's Kirk. I played Kirk and Cash last week. He actually looked somewhat okay. I love this game in general. And I feel like I already know it. I'm going to regret it but I feel like I'm going to end up paying up for Hopkins in cash. Granted that I get suckered into one of these McKinnon type plays, which I know me, and I know what I'm going to do. I know you're saying you're going Henry and Zeke potentially-ish in your flex. I know me. I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid and stick to my long-term process. And whether it works out or not, this is probably the route I envision myself going. I really think I'm going to play Hopkins in cash as of now, Tuesday afternoon.
You also have, we didn't mention it, but you also have Mike Davis with McCaffrey out.
Yes.
Got 8 targets after McCaffrey went down. And McCaffrey, I feel like that was only like a quarter and a half off the check, but 8 targets is legit.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so he's cheap. I think he's like 51 or around that 5K mark.
Mike Davis is one of those guys that can just donut you almost. Have three.
I don't know. I don't think Mike Davis is bad. He's been good in the preseason. I guess we'll have to see. I mean, it's not like the best matchup, but it's definitely not bad for his price. But yeah, to go along with what you were saying, I had a tournament that was live for a while, a tournament lineup. I had the Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, Mike Gesicki stack that I talked about in Final Thoughts. So I was up there for a while, and I didn't even care because like I was losing in cash. Like I care more about my core plays.
That's how I am.
Than I do. Like I don't care about anything else. I was so tilted in cash, I didn't even care what was going on.
I knew I was in the running for this. Well, first of all, I only told, I think you and Sam, a couple of people in Discord, I was actually winning about 350,000 most of the day. And it was there. Like I got to my, I had 225 points, I think, or whatever. And I knew I was going to drop. I just didn't know how much. It looked like I had a shot to kind of retain most of it. But I was secretly, this is no BS, Ben. I was pissed about my cash lineup, thinking about what I did wrong, how I got to get better, what am I going to do next week, what mistakes will I avoid. Honestly, I was literally kind of a little bit salty of it. I know it doesn't sound like it because of the win, but hey, we do care. We do this every week, 5 years now. Last thing too, in Discord, yes, that is another package. It's a subscription, dfskarma.com. Ben will update us. The staff experts, they'll update us on these McKinnon type plays, these Davis, because it's hard on a Tuesday. No one really has a full idea and consensus. So if you want more direction, go to the website, subscriptions, and then you can get access to literally talk to Ben and I. All right, Ben, let's go to tight end.
Yeah, tight end. I think again, you're spending down as much as you can in cash games. Obviously, there's not even any spend ups, right? There's no Kelsey, no Mark Andrews because they play on Monday night. George Kittle is likely out again for this game. So your most expensive tight end on this slate's Tyler Higbee at 5,900 against Buffalo because he scored 3 touchdowns or whatever last week. There's really no spend ups that you feel super good about. You have Zach Ertz at 51, Goddard at 49. Like those guys can eat into each other enough that it's tough for me to want one in cash. Whereas tournaments, I think they're a good plays. So I'm going to be dropping down. The two that stick out to me, Logan Thomas, my boy, again, 3,700. This guy just has the nuts matchup again against the Browns. I know they're probably getting Mac Wilson back, but they have no linebackers. They're horrible against tight ends. They've been horrible against tight ends for like my whole life. And he's 3,700. He got up over, I think, 90% snap rate last week, so he was on the field a ton again. And then Drew Sample at 3,500. Philly has been another team early on horrible against tight ends. They have no linebackers, so they gave up a touchdown to Logan Thomas in week 1. Gave up 1, 2, 3 touchdowns to Tyler Higbee last week, and Drew Sample came in and commanded 9 targets when CJ Uzoma went down in that Thursday night game, and he actually has a decent athletic profile. I kind of like Burrow, and they let Burrow throw it 60 times in that Browns game. They're gonna throw the ball, so I think Drew Sample and Logan Thomas both are pretty strong value options.
Man, no one's going to play Sample because of his name.
Yeah, and he's 200 less than Thomas. People will just play Thomas, but I kind of like Sample.
That's a great pivot in 3 max right there. If Logan Thomas is going to be chalk, I'm talking relative right now. He's not going to be chalk, but yeah, pivot right there, Sample. No one's going to play him. You're right. Higbee just went off last week. Higbee, by the way, is the biggest trap of this entire slate. That's the first guy right now that I will have zero exposure to. First off, you're coming off 3 touchdowns. You're just obviously due for natural, regression. But Buffalo, come on. That's going to be a 10% trap. 10% of people are going to play him, and that's a mistake in cash games, I think. Yeah, a tight end is. I just feel like I always pay. We say it every week. I mean, Mo Alley Cox went off last week. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know.
he's in play, dude. I like him. So Matt, I don't know if you listen to the game theory, right? Where I was like, "Oh, Matt,
Yeah.
I just found out Doyle missed practice, so we might get Mo Alley Cox." And he was like, "Yeah, whatever." I'm like, "No, dude, like I'm serious. Like he's actually not bad." And then he went for over 100 yards. It was so perfect. So I do think he's in play too at 38.
I on FanDuel is where I'm doing my 150 to $4 the millionaire, and I'm using the optimizer, which again is under the subscription package on the site. I literally went pretty overweight to Mo Alley Cox, and I was honestly surprised that some of my lineups weren't a little bit more. I actually returned a profit the first of the year, which was fun. Not much, but a couple $100. And I had a lot of lineups in play because I went overweight Ridley and Aaron Jones. But yeah, he was kind of the cheat code. He was 4K on FanDuel, and we kind of talked about him in cash late in Discord during the week, and then there was just no real buzz. So I think all of us kind of just looked the other way. I do think he's in play. Zach Ertz, 5,100. I mean, against the Bengals. I get it. Ertz isn't really. I mean, I'll let Bales talk about that guy because Bales still mad at me for drafting Zach Ertz 2 years ago at the I don't know where we were, somewhere in Vegas. Logan Thomas is probably my guy right now. I mean, the Browns do suck. Yeah,
They're so bad against tight ends, dude.
I do love my dog, Mac Wilson. He's back, but they're terrible. 3,700. They're going to be throwing a ton. They're going to have to play catch up. They're 7-point dogs right now. I really like that play a lot. There is a couple other guys. Who's this Dan Arnold guy, projection-wise, 2,800. I mean, you can't play him at cash, but interesting to see him kind of spike a little bit. Ian Thomas, 3,000. What's he been up to? Nothing. Yeah, he's terrible play. All right, sorry. Let's go to defense. What's up?
Yeah, defense again. You want to save money here. I know, like, we typically save, but, dude, the Patriots defense is down to 3,200 on DraftKings. I think 3,200 is fittable, and I kind of was talking about, Vegas, short week, traveling for the road 1 p.m. game after the big win on Monday Night Football over the Saints. Like, that's such a good spot for the Patriots defense at 3,200. I mean, Falcons, like, is their defense good? No, but Mitchell Trubisky also is not good. Giants at home, 2,700. Nick Mullins, I don't think is bad, but it's still a backup quarterback, and they just, no Kittle, down 2 running backs. Like, I think Giants at home at 27 probably makes some sense.
Yeah, and again, I've been playing more down in defense the last couple years, I think, than in years prior. I think a few years ago I was paying up a little bit more. I probably won't really pay up at all. Once in a while, if I got like a team I really like and I just so happen to have salary, of course I will pay up. But at the end of the day, most of these teams are all getting 4 to 5 points, maybe 3, some 7. And then, yeah, you get the occasional team that goes off for 20 points. That doesn't even mean that you're cashing. Honestly, I've had those experiences as well. Let me say, those are tilting when you actually hit on the defense. Real quick, it's Houston for me. I'm not afraid to play 2,100. I mean, again, just get me. It's Ben. He throws picks, a couple sacks. I'm looking at Houston. Actually, the Jets, 2K. They were my team last week. I had no rhyme or reason.
I think you can just play the cheapest one again. I don't have any problems with that.
You know what's funny, Ben? And this is how we'll end the podcast. By the way, I do like the Eagles to dub up 2,800 against rookie quarterback. Do you realize that the Jets were my defense in that $100,000 win, and Reed was on the offense? I mean, I know that quote unquote doesn't mean anything, but I didn't even realize until after the fact.
That's so funny.
It just goes to show you that, like, defense doesn't matter. I mean, all my teams last week, I legit paid the Dolphins, the Jets, and I feel like there was I took a shot at the Giants at 2,300, so I spent up for them. But I'm paying down every week, and I'm really not thinking about it. So I think that does it on my end. So good luck this week, everybody. Ben, if you got anything else to add, you guys know where to find us. DFSkarma.com, betkarma.com. Go check out the lock of the year. Promise it's going to hit. And that does it. Good luck.